live art stream.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I think everybody in our college is having their online classes. So let's just start the session. We will be recording this session. So so the so yesterday we learned about the Git and GitHub. It was so because the Hacktoberfest has already been live. It's October month. Most of you know what is Hacktoberfest. So it's an event that promotes open source. So the yesterday session was on Git and GitHub. So Raghav and this other guy, Simran had took this session. You can check that out in our YouTube channel. So today's topic we will be discussing on Flutter, as you know. So guys, uh, for now I am starting the session. I know there is nobody live right now, but this will be recording and it will be available on our YouTube channel, so it will be best if you watch through. So I am starting with my topic. So here's I'm sharing my screen. So what is Flutter? Flutter is an SDK built by Google. They started this project around. It's first of all, the Flutter team is from a web development background. So most of their syntax may look similar to the of syntax of you know web development. So they came live that means they came live on 2017, I guess. So Flutter is really new SDK. It's You can compare it with as a competitor of React Native, that is by Facebook. So what is Flutter? Flutter is an SDK building used to build high performing, modern and beautiful apps. And by this means your app must will also work on 90 fps and 120 fps, work from both Android and iOS. I know I have taken this PPT from somewhere else, but it also support web that is in beta phase right now, and recently they have launched their desktop variant of this Flutter, which is quite stable on the stable channel. I will tell you what is stable and other channels on Flutter. So it's an open software toolkit by Google. So already know 100 plus contributors from the open source community. Obviously, it's Flutter, that's why, and it's powered by Google. Designers, prototype developers. Like it is, you will find it really amazing that designers also use Flutter, because the way everything is stacked on this Flutter is really awesome. You can design anything you imagine of. And for developer, it is like the easiest talking about the programming language that Flutter uses is Dart, and it is also by Google. Uh, so yeah, for developer, if you are a fresher and want to taste the upper layer of app development, you can just try Flutter, and then you can go to the native side of it if you want to try. But because Flutter is really advanced and it has this native experience of other Android and iOS development, so I think you may not switch to other languages after learning Flutter, but it is recommended that you should. Flutter experience and performance. So design oriented development flow. As you may see, what do you see here? There is a template here. As you may know, it is, you can see it on Google Maps. Here's a call, route, share, and this all what we see is a screen, and this is a text, this is some text, this is some button, this is also a button, this is also a button, and this is text. So everything, first and the best thing about Flutter is everything here is a widget. Like everything, like unlike Java, you don't have to create your own. Everything is Flutter, everything in Flutter is a widget. Looking for rows and columns, you may stack it as per your preferences. Like for this, you can create a column, this, it will and for this you can see there are three elements in the row. So for this you can create rows. This is a simple design you can replicate as a developer. So yeah, I was talking about that the Flutter team is originally from the web background. So you may see some similarities in the syntax of it. Like you can see this, and then you can see this, the width, the height, and this is what you see here. So it's quite similar to the web development. So yeah, here's some Flutter commands that is really very helpful. And this is Flutter Doctor. What it does is it will tell what is wrong with your machine, what it requires for you to execute, and what is missing in your system to execute a Flutter program. Flutter upgrade will upgrade your SDK. Like recently they have launched their new version that is 1.22. So yeah, and pubspec.yaml, this is a really important file in Flutter. I will show you how you can deal with this in the Flutter. So yeah, you can it is a place where you add your dependencies like third party libraries, Firebase authentication. So yeah, Flutter packages.get. After adding to this command, you have to just write this command, and it will get all the dependencies that you want. And if an upgrade came of that package, then it is quite reliable to use this. It will give you an edge. Flutter format, it is not that quite much use command line, but it is quite useful. Yeah, there is one missing, that is Flutter clean. So yeah, there is a problem that I found in my most of the apps, that sometimes when you build an app, means that an Android must familiar with, it builds an program. So sometimes the build is not that good that you wanted, it has some issues. So you can use Flutter clean, it will clean the build format, that will be helpful to you. And then and now the most important, the most magnificent use of Flutter, that is hot reload and hot restart. So those of you have already been into app development, you must know that for any code you have to just execute the program again and rebuild and rerun the program again and again to see the changes, like hot reload. If you change something here and press hot reload, like if you want to change this addition sign and want to use a negative sign, in native development what you have to do, you have to write the code, run it, and then exchange it. Wait a second. Then exchange it. uh, so yeah, it will not, you have to rebuild that app, and it takes time, it will take time. For small project it will take less time, but for a commercial, if you are making a commercial app, that will take a really long time, that will take a really long time. So it was it was a drawback for, I guess, native apps. So Flutter did some changes, and what they did was, they, because it's all about state, if state changes, see this, if you want to change this, you just replace the at sign with the minus sign and press hot reload. It will, in point second it will change. That's the power of Flutter. Dart observation. So I told you that Dart is a language that Flutter uses to build an app. So power of widgets, and these are some UIs that you can see they have built on Flutter. Look how nice they are. It is really easy to build some good. So guys, I will take if there is someone online or not. Okay. Okay. So yeah, these are some templates they have replicated in Flutter. Everything is a widget. As I told you that everything in Flutter is a widget. You just stack widget under a widget, then under a widget, and it works fine. It works really fine. It is really fast to build apps in Flutter as compared to native. So these are the most important terms: stateful and stateless widgets. I will tell you what it is. As you may know, it is quite obvious that you can just read the name and you can get the idea about it. Goodbye's global layout system. So yeah, the topic starts the stateful and stateless widget. I will not go deep into it because it is really vast if you go. Now I will tell you what you can do, what are the sources you can use to learn Flutter. There are multiple resources, but there are two type of people in development, that one learns from videos and other learns from documentation. I would recommend follow videos at it is as it is. You learn from more visual things than reading, but it is your preference. I'm just checking if there is anything I can tell you about which is relevant for this session. You can yes, you can really manage the state of an app. That is, you can segregate the UI part, then the logic part, and then the networking part. That means if you want a class that always that helps you to get the APIs, and you want your UI to be separated from that, then it is better you use some of the very famous state management tools, that is packages that are providers, Redux, and many more. Block, there's also, I guess, Block is there, that is very helpful. I haven't tried it, but yeah. running at 60 fps. I guess it is really outdated. Now it runs 90 fps to 150 120 fps easily. So that's from the PPT side. Now it's time. I will tell you the sources you can opt to get idea where you can learn the Flutter. So first of all, this is the official Flutter documentation site, and they have recently announced the Flutter 1.22. It is. I must say that I must say that. Okay. So yeah, you go to this site and get started. Here's some features you can use to install. I'm on Linux machine, so I have used this path. But if you are on Windows, Mac OS, and Chrome OS, you can use this. So here are some features that you can use. Set up your editor, test drive. You can learn from it. And here is the official GitHub repository for the Flutter. You can if you are familiar with it, you can. It is Hacktober. You can also contribute in it. So the next thing is, yeah, the course I was talking about. The best course I've found on internet for Flutter app development is this by Angela Yu. You can find it on Udemy. uh, she's really great. For beginners, I mean, it's a gem. You can just go to this and buy this on Udemy and help yourself. So Gaurav, do we have time for questioning?
Yeah, you can take the questions, all the questions they are.
Anybody who wants to ask question, they may ask now. What about Abruti? Yeah, so 2K16CO336 has asked that what about Abruti? Yeah, initially I started this course on Abruti, but when you will download this Udemy course, you will find that the initial modules are similar to the Abruti. Wait, I will tell you. I have Bruku. Look, I started it from Abruti. Then after, when it goes to the advanced level, they haven't used it. They don't have that modules which are like BMI calculator. Yeah, the BMI calculator, the API fetching, and for more advanced, you should really buy the Udemy course. But if you will buy Udemy course, it will eventually cover up the Abruti course also. I have done both of the courses. So any questions? Someone just asked how to add custom keyboard. Look, buddy, there's multiple way you can add custom keyboards. And by custom keyboard, I don't know what do you mean. Like your G board or your Cupertino board. But if you want to build your own keyboard, that's another thing. But if you want a certain type of keyboard to you want to use during an app, that's a different part. Any more questions? Guys, it is the best time if you ask question, or I will start the hands-on session, little bit of hands-on. How does it looks to build an app on Flutter? Wait a second. Sorry, there was a call. Best place for open source contribution in Flutter. GitHub. You can go to GitHub, or you can just search for Flutter projects. There are multiple projects going on Flutter. You can also search it on LinkedIn. Like if I'm interested in GSOC and all, yeah. Yeah, recently, the in the last GSOC, I have seen that Dart has also contributed as an organization for the first time. So yeah, if you want to participate in GSOC, Dart will be there for the next time. Any other questions? If someone is a beginner, they can also ask any queries they want. I'm there to help. So I guess nobody is asking any question. Should I okay, should I give you an example how to create a Flutter project and how what it is inside and where you can, what are the best editor for Flutter development? So yeah, there is Android Studio. Obviously, it is by Google. So Android Studio is also a very famous editor for Flutter. Then there is Visual Studio Code that I use it for personally. On with my experience, I know Android Studio is bit heavy. It sometimes it crashes your system, but Visual Studio Code is quite light and it is easy to use, and you can get really awesome extension that you can work on. And then there is IntelliJ, I guess, that you use. I have no idea about it, but yeah, the two most used editors are Visual Studio Code and Android Studio for Flutter development. And yeah, if you are working with iOS development, if you want to develop an iOS development, you must have an MacBook, because uh, they use something called, you must be familiar of Xcode, that is in MacBook. So without that, it is quite difficult to develop apps in for iOS. Though you can create a single code base for the web development, iOS and Android. What is Dart? Dart is a programming language that Flutter uses to build. You can also go there. Is the documentation of Dart. The recent version of it is 2.10. It is quite similar to the Java, I must say, but if you are learning Flutter, it is recommended that you should be familiar of just one object oriented language. I would not recommend Python because it is quite easy and readable, but Flutter is similar to Java and C++. I haven't used Java. Which one is better between Flutter and React Native? Well, there it's a really big controversy or big debate about which is better, Flutter and React Native. I have tried both, but Flutter is easy and it has bigger community than React Native. So you can just try and try to taste the upper layer of both the SDKs. Is there any repo for of yours where I can contribute as a beginner? Yeah, I can tell you my GitHub account. You can uh, you can just here's my GitHub account. If you want to contribute, there are 28 repositories. Most of them are on Flutter. I would say most of that. This is high cred that's on. You can see that is also written in Dart. The responsiveness of that is also written in BMI calculator. That is the app I have built using the by watching the app brewery. sorry, the Udemy course. Abruri doesn't support this one. What is hot reload in Flutter? So when if you are familiar with the native programming like Kotlin and Java, if you want any changes, you have to write the code and then restart the app again in the emulator or the simulator. It takes really long time to build the Gradle. Gradle is the format which you must know what it is. So it takes time. But the Flutter team, they really focused on this issue, that to really decrease the time of it. So they developed this hot reload and hot restart. Sometimes you have to, most of the time you will use hot reload instead of hot restart. But yeah, hot reload is a really big niche idea of it. So I will, how should I learn Dart with Flutter? You can just go through some of the basics or fundamentals of Dart, and then you are good to go with the Flutter. Yeah, you can just go here, read the documents, or you can visit to YouTube Dart tutorials. I guess this is the course I have done to get the sound knowledge of Dart. It is quite useful. It is sufficient. But as you will do the Angela U course, it will. Why does Flutter app build take a long? No, you haven't get me right. I said Flutter is more easy to build rather than using the native app development. It builds really fast. But what I told is there are some issues during runtime that will distort some of the files in the build function of it. So that is a problem still Flutter is facing. Now we'll just give you the brief idea what are the steps you can use to create a Flutter project. You just have to write what is Flutter. Okay, these are the Flutter. Flutter Doctor. Is there any good project which I can add in my CV? I mean, you can add your own. You can just build a small app first, and because I'm also a project-based learner, I don't really recommend you to just learn every languages that came in your place. Just think of a project and try to build things from it, and use the tech stack that it needs. It will be beneficial for you. You will learn a lot from that. Project based learning is, I guess, the best learning you can get. So for beginners, I would recommend, if you are using Flutter, you can build a note keeping app, make it and want to take it to another level, you can add the state management to it. That is, you can add the UI part differently. You can segregate the UI part and the controller part, and then the API fetching or the networking part that we call them as models. So here's my terminal. So currently I have no devices available. I personally use my Android phone for debugging, because still it is when you use a simulator, it's really slow downs your system. We have to focus on CP also. What does CP means? CPU. We have to focus on CP also. Can you write what do you mean by CP? Could you show and tell us how Flutter? Yeah, sure. I was about to do that. So the I wrote this command Flutter doctor, and it is using this. No, you can. I would recommend, if you are familiar with C++ or Java and want to use competitive and want to go into competitive programming, that it would be recommended if you use Flutter and Java, because Dart, I know it is similar to Flutter. I mean, it is similar to Java or C++, but it is not that preferred language to use in the competitive programming. I think he is telling about competitive programming. Yeah, I got that answer. So I was telling that I run this command flutter doctor, so it will tell me what I have already and what I should add more. Flutter SDK already installed. Flutter toolchain, you have to add the Android Studio for it. Then Android Studio, at it is recent. And connect device. So you can use emulator, that is AVD in app development terms. You can add simulator your Android device or iOS device as you prefer. But I personally use my phone, because it is easy to see the visual changes, and it will really slow down the reaction time, and will not mess with your system. So yeah, let's here's the command that I will use to create a Flutter project. You just have to use Flutter in every statement of it. Flutter create sample, I guess. So you can see that it is building something, and it is making the format of Flutter environment. So yeah, CD to sample, you can see change the directory to sample and Flutter run. I don't have my device right now, so I won't be able to show you the actual output of the program. That is my phone. But yeah, I will tell you how it will look default. So I will use the CD sample, and then open my code. That is the command for use opening the Visual Studio Code. So here's what you can see, the environment that we have built for Flutter. There are some important files, that is Dart tool configuration file. These are not for you for now if you are a beginner. This is the main file. The lib file is really important file that you will find. I have to just okay. So yeah, here's a lib file that you have, and like every extension that you use, like for C++ and C++ program, you use .cpp, and for Python you use .py. That's how you use for Flutter, that is main.dart. So yeah, here's a program written in Flutter. I will tell you how it looks, what it is going to execute. It is the default app they provide when you yeah, it is the you it will be the first app that when you run Flutter run. It is nothing, just if you just click this button, it will uh, count plus 11 to this, and it will change the number increment. Okay. Mm, so here is the code for the that that UI I have showed to you. So that is always uh, void main, the main execution function of Flutter, just like you have in C++. So here's stateless widget that is, I guess, is irrelevant for you at the time. So here's the logic behind it. and here is the test section of it, the where you can the where testing has takes place. Now comes to the most important file, I would say, in Flutter is this pubspec.yaml. Sorry. So far, any questions you can ask me now. Guys, any questions? Okay, so here it is, pubspec.yaml file. As you can see, there is the environment version of it. The version I'm using is this. The Cupertino icon, that is the icons, like we have material design in Android and Cupertino icons in iOS, that is already added in it. So whenever you add something, like if you are want providers packet, you use this notation and write the version of it. YAML file is for dependencies. You want to tell the environment that I'm using this external packages to perform some functionalities. That's why there is a YAML file that will connect to the environment, and it will tell the system that these are the external sources from which we will be needing help. So yeah, this is how you import something from it. Or you can just leave it as it is. Provider, it will turn the latest version of it. Now opening the terminal, you can add flutter pub get. It will initialize this command is really important if you are working with pubspec.yaml. And yeah, it is really recommended that you follow the indentation they provide. Like if I go like this, it will start showing some errors. It is not right now, but it will show some errors. But you have to be really precise for this format. You can write any, you can have any version. So now I'm opening the flutter.main package, main.dart package. It will, you can see there is an increment, that is an increment function. You can use this as you can use this button to debug the program. And as soon as you press this button, there will be a small widget here that will say hot restart and hot reload. uh, is there any question that I can take right now? Because it will be really helpful if I get some question and clear your doubts. It will be best if beginners will ask some questions. Is data serialization language basically used for configuration file? Is data serialization language basically used for configuration file? Can you be more precise, Jagrit? What are you trying to ask? Tween animation. Okay. It is also a widget, I would say. It is also a great widget. When you transit from one screen to another. Tween animation. Yeah, you can also follow the YouTube channel of Flutter. It is really very helpful. They have this short series of Flutter widget of the week or the Flutter the boring show. You can just follow that. So twin animation is nothing. When you transfer from one screen to another, it will transit in a animated way. Like if someone is having this small icon here, and from for next screen you want it to be large, then it will zoom out and the screen will transit on that node. Any other questions? Because this session is really getting very bored. So guys, I think there is no question right now. So I will be available uh, on Twitter. You can just follow my Twitter. I will just show you. If you have some queries, you can ask. I know if I'm logged into it right now. No, I'm not. So I will add my credentials in the using Flutter for GSOC. Yeah, I have told that recently last year the Dart organization has been there for GSOC. You can apply to that, but you have to work along. You have to start working on it right now if you are a beginner, because the competition is high. Flutter is new, yet it is the most famous cross-platform language that you can find. So yeah, Dart will be there in the next GSOC also. You can apply to that. Yeah, the great news is, yeah, Flutter is rebuilding their Google Pay app on Flutter. That is very good. The other apps that the big apps that you will find using Flutter is the Alibaba groups. The I guess there is a cricket app. Dream 11, I guess. I don't know its name. Yeah. Dream 11 is also built on Flutter. You can find Flutter stories here. More people are really looking forward to work on Flutter. It is quite easy and has this native experience of app building. Any other question, or I should just end this session? So thank you guys. I hope you will like that. You like this session. Have a good day and stay safe.